Adam Schiff, who, by the way, is under investigation for mortgage fraud right now, has got to be one of the most disingenuous members of Congress. However, because he's a Democrat, they allow people to fail upward in that party. So he's now moved from representative to senator. But what we're going to see today is Harmeet Dhillon completely destroy him over the acts of DEI hiring practices in California. But before we get to these clips, don't forget to like and comment on this video so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
You seem to be saying now that any university that gives a preference to low-income applicants is engaged in illegal DEI, or if they put a focus on first-generation students, that's somehow impermissible. After all the years of criticism of cancel culture, you seem to want to cancel any institution that has views that you disagree with. In answer to the questions about law firms, you want to cancel law firms because they take on unpopular clients to you, to the administration. That is, if a firm represents someone with an adverse interest to the administration, which is their First Amendment right to do, and I would also say their duty to do, you would cancel them. You would cancel universities like Harvard or the University of Virginia that take positions and exercise their First Amendment rights contrary to what you think the administration wants to see. You would cancel the Associated Press for not using the ridiculous nomenclature of the Gulf of America. You're canceling now the Wall Street Journal because the Wall Street Journal had the audacity to publish an article about Trump's connections to Jeffrey Epstein. So this is what's going on in this administration. Ms. Dhillon, you recently announced that DOJ was launching an investigation into the University of California over its UC 2030 capacity plan, which notes that future growth of faculty and students should result in campus populations that better reflect and tap the talent of underrepresented populations who represent the majority of Californians. In the SFFA versus Harvard opinion, the Supreme Court held that nothing in this opinion should be construed as prohibiting universities from considering an applicant's discussion of how race affected his or her life, be it through discrimination, inspiration, or otherwise, allowing universities to continue assessing students' experience with race on an individualized basis. In that opinion, in his concurrence, Justice Thomas praised the University of California for achieving diversity through race-neutral policies, including preferences for low-income applicants and first-generation students, and recruiting efforts targeted at areas with substantial populations of people of color. Are the race-neutral policies like those used by University of California, which Justice Thomas explicitly praised in that opinion, now considered by you to be illegal DEI?
Well, Senator, first of all, the investigation that we've opened is an investigation, and it's an investigation into the hiring policies of the University of California system, not the admissions policies. That said, I have absolutely seen abuses in the admissions policies in using race as a crude proxy for discrimination. That's not the question I asked you.
Are the race-neutral policies praised by Justice Thomas now considered by you to be illegal DEI?
I think you're mixing apples and oranges. So
well,
I can't really answer your question.
You can answer my question and say, yes, they are now illegal. That is what Justice Thomas praised in terms of race-neutral policies, which include preferences for low-income applicants, first-generation students, things like that. Are you now saying that what Justice Thomas praised is now illegal in your view?
Senator, there's a difference between what you see on paper and what you see in reality, and I reject your premise. I reject your premise that how California describes its admissions practices is
about whether you subscribe to the Supreme Court's opinion or whether you disagree with Justice Thomas' concurrence. You can answer that question, can't you?
In the abstract, yes. In reality, what you're describing does not exist in the UC system.
Okay, so Justice Thomas got it wrong. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that.
Well, you are saying that because he was praising the policies of the University of California.
So I do think that Adam Schiff is making a couple of very weak arguments here. And notice how Harmeet Dhillon actually tears him apart a little bit, but we'll get to those in a second, okay? The first thing Adam Schiff says is, oh, the Supreme Court decision says that an applicant to Harvard actually can discuss their race. And that is 100% true. But of course, it's the quota system. It's admitting someone because of the race. That was the issue. And that, of course, is what the Supreme Court found Harvard guilty of, all right? So that, of course, is out the window. The second thing Adam Schiff does is he seems to actually take Clarence Thomas and make him somehow pro-affirmative action, somehow pro all of these different practices that are going on. However, anybody who knows Clarence Thomas knows that he is 100% against affirmative action. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But of course, what Adam Schiff does is he reads directly from the Supreme Court decision. And over here, you have the opinion of Justice Thomas saying, universities' recent experiences confirm the efficacy of a colorblind rule. To start, universities prohibited from engaging in racial discrimination by state law continue to enroll racially diverse classes by race-neutral means. For example, the University of California purportedly recently admitted its most diverse undergraduate class ever, despite California's ban on racial preferences. All right, so of course it sounds like to you and me that by getting rid of these racial quotas, it actually increases diversity. And that's exactly what Clarence Thomas is praising. But Adam Schiff says, oh, these are the race-neutral policies that you're now criticizing, Harmeet, that you're actually taking the University of California to court over, okay? But of course, what we all know is that race-neutral means you're not taking race into account. Harmeet rightly points out that, hey, we're actually talking about the hiring practices of the University of California, not the admission practices. However, in both instances, if you're hiring or letting people into the college based solely on race, then of course you're breaking the law as determined by the Supreme Court. But that's something apparently Adam Schiff just doesn't understand, all right? Race neutral versus looking only at race, all right? And that, of course, is where his whole argument tends to fall apart. But then, of course, Adam Schiff is also going to say that the Trump administration is discriminating against certain places for not having his same conservative beliefs, right? He's actually trying to cancel them. And I don't think Adam Schiff quite knows what canceling means, right? Adam Schiff says he's trying to cancel Harvard. He's trying to cancel Virginia. That means they would no longer be around. They wouldn't be allowed to operate, okay? But instead, all Trump is doing is threatening to withhold funds if they're not going to follow the law as determined by the Supreme Court. But Harmeet Dhillon, of course, actually makes some very good points when talking about discrimination. Okay, she says that yes, on paper, you may have the right policies, which of course is what Adam Schiff is trying to go out there and tout. However, in practice, what's really happening? Oh, it was the quota system. It was enrolling people and hiring people according to their race above everything else. And that, of course, is what is now being stopped because DEI is over, it's dead, it's gone. And of course, on one final note, how dare Adam Schiff, this vaunted Democrat leftist progressive, go out and attack a poor woman of color like Harmeet Dhillon? So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and say hi to your mom for me. Do you like t-shirts? Of course you do. And now you can support the channel by buying an Angry Teacher t-shirt designed by me, Angry Teacher. So if you like America, if you like freedom, if you like liberty, then go ahead and click the link in the description where all designs, of course, are 100% mother approved. So enjoy yourself and find something you like today.